Finding the light after the storm. Healing from the narcissist happens in silence. Let us delve into a phenomenon that is, in its final form, truly beautiful. The subtle transformation that occurs as individuals heal from the profound injury of narcissistic relationships. When I observe groups of survivors, particularly those actively disentangling from these dynamics, or even when I recognize this pattern in my own family or occasionally within myself, a crucial distinction emerges. The difference between speaking at people while desperately seeking their approval versus speaking to people while genuinely connecting with them. This difference resides primarily in the eyes and the face. For human beings, the act of looking at another's face is foundational to establishing connection. Psychologically, faces are dense with data. Dozens of emotions can flicker across a countenance before a single word is articulated. Our eyes often carry a weight of communication that language fails to capture, revealing feelings for which we have no ready vocabulary. However, the emotional landscape of the face shifts dramatically depending on the internal motivation. When we look outward in search of validation, the face carries an air of anxiety, anticipation, and palpable fear. Conversely, when we look at another face as an equal in a balanced, connected interaction, that anxiety dissipates, replaced by presence. Survivors of narcissistic relationships inhabit a particularly challenging intersection of these dynamics. It is my firm belief, supported by countless observations, that many of you possess a superior, almost prodigious ability to read a face compared to the general population. This wasn't a choice, it was a survival necessity. To remain safe in an unstable environment, you developed the skill of executing instantaneous psychological scans of the narcissistic persons face the moment they entered a room. You were acutely attuned to the slightest shift, the transition from the fun, charming persona to the volatile, angry one, to quickly assess if a simple request or statement would trigger an explosive reaction. While you became masters at reading their faces, this hyperskill is not a connective art, it is a safety mechanism. The ability to decode their expression allowed you precious seconds to appease them, offer a preemptive compliment, withdraw a request, halt conversation, or physically retreat, thereby getting ahead of potential harm. Many survivors raised in narcissistically abusive family systems learned this vigilant monitoring early. All the cognitive bandwidth that should have been dedicated to the simple, joyful state of being a child was instead diverted to studying every nuanced flicker in a parent's face. Is mom angry? Is dad sad? Is the whole situation about to implode? Having experienced this childhood myself, I cannot count the number of times I chose to remain in the communal, visible areas of the house, forfeiting the solitude I craved, simply to constantly monitor the psychological climate. I lived in perpetual fear that if my surveillance slipped, something terrible would occur. Today, the moments I feel safest and most genuinely happy are often when I am utterly alone in a quiet space. It is the only way my deep-seated hypervigilance can fully abate, allowing my nervous system to achieve genuine rest. Yet, even after the initial threat has passed, the learned pattern of anxiously seeking approval in others' faces persists. I recall one survivor I know well. Clever, funny, warm, and highly capable, yet horribly abused as a child. When she speaks in a small group and needs to make a simple request, such as asking if they can linger longer, or requesting a larger table, or notifying them that she might arrive late, she articulates the request, followed by a pause significantly longer than expected. Her eyes subtly widen, and she fixes her gaze upon the respondent's face with intense focus. It is a subtle but unmistakable fear response mixed with approval seeking. Please let me know this is okay, or perhaps even good. Most people respond normally, oblivious to the undercurrent, but I observe this distinct anxious tension every time. This pattern of looking to external faces, not for reciprocal connection, but for validation or assurance that something bad will not happen, is a lingering hypervigilant response. I frequently witness this with clients in the nascent stages of recovery. It is a powerful indicator that true healing is underway when that anxious, expectant gaze finally begins to switch, transforming into a balanced look of presence and genuine connection. The evolution of the gaze and the ascent to presence. This evolution from anxious child to present adult is accompanied by profound internal changes. The survivor gains essential clarity on the narcissistic dynamics that once held them captive and begins the courageous process of exposing their authentic self. They start making self-serving decisions, deliberately building support networks, and actively finding safe havens in their lives. However, this transition is fraught with difficulty. After enduring narcissistic abuse, the social world can feel profoundly threatening because the survivor now knows the catastrophic potential lurking beneath ordinary interactions. They understand that manipulation is often incredibly subtle, and having often internalized blame for the abuse, they carry the deep-seated belief that people can turn on a dime. This sustained belief necessitates and perpetuates hypervigilance. The shadow of abandonment or rejection stemming from repeated bouts of the silent treatment looms large, driving the survivor to suppress their true emotional expression. This suppression, often a learned defense against constant criticism and attack on their feelings, manifests in the face. When looking at others, the survivor's expression is anxious, waiting, and intensely anticipating, rather than simply being. Healing, the reciprocal exchange. True healing is found in this being, the capacity to allow natural emotions to show and to be fully present with someone without the internal radar anticipating disaster. Healing is the ability to listen, interact, and engage in a reciprocal exchange. When this balanced interaction occurs, it feels nothing short of miraculous for the survivor, offering a taste of true human connection. It is crucial to acknowledge that not every person is healthy, and the survivor must remain attuned to their internal signals. There will be interactions that momentarily yank you back to that old, anxious, vigilant mode of anticipation. Do not ignore that part of you. Listen to your body's response. In moments when you revert to the anxious, approval-seeking gaze, you may internally wince after speaking, thinking, "What will happen now?" Conversely, when you are in a safer space, or when you feel more secure within yourself, you can articulate the same thought and feel an internal capacity to manage whatever comes your way. That shift from anxious anticipation to managed acceptance is the measure of your healing. This is precisely why cultivating healthy social spaces is paramount to recovery. These sanctuaries are places where you can take risks, where the consequences are not catastrophic, and where one misplaced word doesn't invite rage or discard. Such places gently permit your true, reciprocal, and social face to shine through. Befriending the inner protector. We must be radically kind to the part of us that remains anxious, vigilant, and approval-seeking in social encounters. That part is a protector. It served a vital, life-saving function. Explore this part with curiosity, recognize its purpose, but also understand that its time of absolute dominion has passed. This inner protector is likely an ancient part of your psyche that performed its job flawlessly, keeping you alive. For me, that anxious protector still surfaces as a feeling of being an imposter when I engage with the players from my childhood. Yet this experience has also resulted in a different, quieter protector, the woman who now craves solitude and chooses not to be a joiner. I pay attention to the experience of those places where I can simply be me, say anything, and have my true face and emotions reflected back without judgment. Those are the places of deep healing. When the solitary protector emerges, I pause and remember the little girl at the kitchen table who desperately longed to be anywhere else, yet felt the world would end if she left her post of surveillance. She eventually had to learn a different way to survive, but she still finds solace in the quiet. I now understand that quiet as a place where my nervous system gets to take a long, well-earned rest, fortifying itself enough to step out and engage with the world again.